I'm trying to give you additional context that isn't already in your ecosystem. Like, I know a lot of us are on the apps. We listen to some of these marvelous astrologers. Fuck, I listen to them. They are like my teachers and my mentors, and like, I'm just here to be an additional guide to your personal practice and to speak more specifically to the people that are creatives, visionaries, and the leaders of tomorrow. And I'm so honored to be able to give an additional lens to your astrological interpretation. So if you're someone who works with the lunation cycles to create change in your life, I'd be really excited for you to be mindful of this new moon that we're having literally this weekend and the one that we're gonna have like 30 days from now. And a big shift that we're gonna be experiencing is due to these eclipses that we'll be having in the middle of the season and towards the end, particularly the full moon in Pisces, which is gonna be a total lunar eclipse. This is the first time we're gonna have the eclipse season with both of them in the signs of Virgo and Pisces. If you're gonna use this to manifest or to clear or to enchant your life in some kind of magical way, give yourself that space to grow and to document your process just by being open to new perspectives and shifting the way that you think about things. I think this is going to be a really interesting month to do so, and I think a lot of the learning will come through you actually showing up and being observant of what is stirred within you. Like the things that are coming into your awareness, like make note of them some way, write them down, speak them out into existence, create art, channel them into something, even if it's not that good. Part of the lessons with the Virgo Pisces axis is about perfectionism. It literally is about that, because Virgo excels in details and things that are just finely tuned and working so succinctly together. It's like the most masterful, beautiful thing you could imagine. But when we have the south node there, or lunations near that south node, there is something about this that's not quite working for us right now. And we're here to investigate and understand through doing and being humbled by learning new approaches. That equilibrium exists over there on the side where Pisces is at. Pisces has so much to do with like the interconnectedness of it all. Has so much big picture visioning that's what it is. It's a vibe, it's a feeling, it's a knowing. And Pisces, much like any strong Jupiterian influence, has to do with our beliefs, our dreams, our intuition, the things that are giving us wisdom that are not necessarily tangible or easily seen. So this is about recognizing other forms of viewing the world and understanding things, and being able to do so with high compassion and empathy to really dig deep into this season, while also not getting completely lost. As we go into Virgo season, we'll have a new moon, I think at 0 degrees in the sign of Virgo. And then the very last day, we have another new moon in Virgo at 29 degrees. Every zodiac season, we only get one new moon and one full moon, unless it's something really special where the very first day of the season we experience a lunation, and then that means the very last day we'll experience that same lunation but at the end degree. This is how I kind of look at the various new moons and try to figure out how they relate to each other. 2 new moons, both ruled by Mercury. The first one, Mercury in Leo, is going to default to what the sun says. At the time of the new moon, the sun will be in the sign of Virgo at 0 degrees. The second new moon, also ruled by Mercury, is going to default to what Venus says because it's in the sign of Libra. However, at the time of the second new moon, Venus will actually be in the sign of Virgo at 2 degrees. It's just really interesting to see the chart of both these lunations 30 days apart and have the final dispositor of this trajectory be at almost the same exact degree at the beginning of Virgo. The sun at 0 degrees and Venus at 2 degrees Virgo. The Mercury in Leo is going to default to what the sun says. It likes to be seen and it likes to be recognized. It is a very prideful sign. It likes to showcase the things that it knows. It may always be learning and picking things up, but it's doing it in a very flashy type of way. So the second one is in the sign ruled by Venus. And this one cares a lot more about beauty, harmony, peace, aesthetics. This one wants to be liked. We see that Mercury in the sign of Libra wants to be invited, feel like it has a sense of belonging in a way that the Mercury in Leo just could care less about. They both have like their pros and cons. They're just answering to different planets to get the final say of the outcome, right? See how you are interpreting things based on these 2 very different modalities, now at the beginning of the season and the version of you at the end of the season. So we're at the very beginning of Virgo season. And this one's really special because there are 2 new moons and 1 full moon, which is going to be a total lunar eclipse. The 2 planets that are ruling this Virgo and Pisces dynamic, and that's going to be Jupiter and Mercury. Both of these planets have many things to teach us, and they're here to help us shift our perspectives and give us new modalities that we can use to better live our lives in harmony, ideally. So from the Mercury perspective, it's going to start off in Leo, it's going to go through Virgo, it's going to hit that south node, which I think is going to be a period of a release, and then it's going to enter the sign of Libra to taper off the season. We are finishing up the Mercury retrograde story in Leo. Even though Mercury is not currently retrograde, it's still going over the path that it already crossed a couple weeks back, and it's still transversing through its shadow. So the Mercury retrograde period is one where there's a lot of reversals and retrievals, and we have to take a double look at. We are putting so much emphasis and creating such a strong belief system. We're still sort of acclimating all of the things that we've picked up during that period, and we're integrating those lessons within our lives. Recognition is such a big deal with like the Mercury and Leo transit, and I think that's going to be part of the story for some of us. Visibility and recognition. So we're starting Virgo season, retrieving those lessons from the Mercury shadow period. It's going to finish its transit through the sign of Leo. Then it's going to go into the sign of Virgo, which is really great for anyone that's ruled by Mercury, because this not only is its home sign, but it's preferred sign. Mercury actually has its place of exaltation in the sign of Virgo, which is very special because no other planet does this. So Mercury does exceptionally well in the sign of Virgo. However, this time around, because we're also witnessing the south node, which is a point of depletion, Mercury will hit that south node and there will be some kind of loss. And it's a place where it's difficult to grow things, let's say related to Mercury, but if you're giving something up from a place of generosity or spirituality, like that kind of hospitality is seen as a good gesture. But I think it's a really great purging point, so that all the things that Mercury has accumulated or has thought, the metaphor I kind of get is like being drained out of it. Would love to talk more about this in detail. I just don't want to get like derailed right now, because I just want to tell you that something specific happens when planets hit the south node. During this season, we'll also have a Mercury 𝘰𝘨, which is where the sun and Mercury align perfectly. It's not even the exact degree, it's like the exact minute. We need Mercury to be within, I think it's like 17 minutes on either side of the sun to consider it a true 𝘰𝘨. But basically the Mercury 𝘰𝘨 will happen at the same time that there is the sun and the Mercury together at the south node, which is going to be really interesting, because I think that period is going to be really helpful for people that are maybe learning or teaching, but not to their own benefit. It has something to do with like advocacy, communicating things that are for the betterment of other people. And hopefully that makes sense later on. To end the season, we see Mercury ingress into the sign of Libra right before the second new moon in Virgo. This Mercury that cares about justice and equality, equanimity, harmony. It cares about something very different than what the first new moon's Mercury cared about, which, remember, first new moon is in Leo, last new moon is in Libra. The second planet that we want to look at is going to be this Jupiter, because Jupiter rules Pisces. And so when we look at the lunar eclipse in Pisces, we're going to look back at what Jupiter is doing. Currently, Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer. This is its place of exaltation. That means that Jupiter does everything that it's really good at to an infinite degree. And sometimes this is not always good for us. Sometimes this is just an acceleration of the things that are already in motion. Depending on where this sits in your chart, it's going to bring up different themes, but overall, Jupiter is the greater benefic. It's going to try to do good wherever it's at. I would love to explore that on a more individual, personalized level, because where this sits in your chart, what it activates, and the cycles that you're currently on are going to be so specific to you that it's just going to make all other generic horoscopes like fall flat, okay? The last thing I'll say about these 2 new moons is that there is also a subtle connection to Saturn. In the second one, more than the first one. So right now, Saturn is at 0 degrees Aries. It's conjunct Neptune. The sun and the moon are together at 0 degrees Virgo. They don't share anything, but they're at the same exact degree, so there is some kind of awareness, but we wouldn't interpret it as a full-on aspect. We're going to revisit what Saturn in Aries means later on next year in 2026. However, I bring this up because the second new moon is directly in opposition to Saturn, because currently Saturn is retrograde in the sign of Aries and is going to be switching over into Pisces for a couple more months. So we are at the crux of that transition back into the sign of Pisces. And that's going to be such a huge deal for a lot of people that are both Virgo or Pisces, because we're going to have the eclipses in these signs. Virgo season highlights this axis, and Saturn going back into this sign will bring back lessons that we haven't fully resolved. Revisit all of these lessons that maybe we should have learned a while ago, that we fully haven't gotten a grasp on. And I think that there will be more clarity around this during the eclipse, and where it sits in your chart is going to influence the way that we tell this story. So this is actually the work that I would do to calculate and keep in the back of my mind as I interpret some of my clients' charts, and as you should interpret how you go about the new moons. But that's all I got for right now. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.